Ok, hey guys, estamos comenzando el capítulo número 5, lección número 5 en Panorama. It's amazing. We're more than halfway through. So this is going to be a really short lesson actually because there's not a whole lot to this first section that you don't already know. We're going to talk specifically about things having to do with vacations, las vacaciones. And one of those important things is going to be timing and weather. So we're going to look at those two things, seasons, months of the year, and things associated with those. So in this page, this is all from Panorama, page 142. It talks a little bit about the months of the year and the seasons. So I'm going to go through and pronounce the months of the year and have you repeat after me. So we're going to begin with January. So clase repitan enero, enero, febrero, febrero, marzo, marzo, no, the Z is not a Z, so don't give me marzo, marzo just like an S. Abril, abril, remember that I, that E sound, don't give me abril, doesn't like April, doesn't rhyme with April, and abril. Mayo, mayo, don't give me mayo. Junio, junio, julio, julio. Agosto, agosto, there's no agosto in there, there's two O's, agosto. Septiembre, septiembre. Octubre, octubre, it's not October, octubre, it's octubre. Noviembre, noviembre. Diciembre, diciembre. Again, those vowels are so important. Don't give me December, diciembre, octubre, noviembre, abril. So those are how we say the months of the year. You're just gonna have to memorize those. They all go back to the same Roman roots for most of the ones in English. Junio, you can see June in there. Julio. Julio is a very common name, just like it's named after Julius Caesar. So that's where we get Julio from. But you'll see that's a very common name in Latin countries. And then the seasons. El invierno, invierno, that's winter. La primavera, primavera, spring. El verano, and el otoño, el otoño. Again, otoño is a great word for practicing your O's because all three of those O's have to have the same sound. So aquí en el cuadro vemos que el invierno es diciembre, enero, febrero. La primavera es marzo, abril y mayo. El verano es junio, julio y agosto. Y el otoño es septiembre, octubre y noviembre. Okay, so just the seasons. And again, that is, we are talking a northern hemisphere, right? So if you're going to South America, then the seasons are going to be switched. So the months of the year are the same, the seasons are called the same, but their summer, their verano, is December, January, and February. Their winter is going to be June, July, and August. So hemispheres are switched. Okay, some important phrases across the bottom when dealing with time and months and days. ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? Fecha, we already had that word before. Fecha means date, as far as a date on a calendar, not a date with your significant other, but a fecha means so cuál, because there are 31 potential dates. So cuál means which. So which is today's date? You don't say qué es la fecha de hoy. That's incorrect. It's cuál. ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? And then to answer, you would say es el primero de octubre. Es hoy, para mí, today, hoy es el 6 de octubre. And we'll talk about those different days, but you always say es el, the number, de, of, and the month. So we don't say October 2nd. We don't say octubre 2. We say es el 2 de octubre. Okay? So just some things to look at there. And then, just like with days of the week, months of the year are not capitalized in Spanish. They're always just lowercase. The only time you would ever capitalize them is if it's beginning word of a sentence. Okay. I said it was going to be short, and I'm taking too much time. Cumpleaños. I have to move my picture out of the way so you can see. I can't. Cumpleaños is the word for birthday. So feliz cumpleaños is how you say happy birthday. It's el cumpleaños. Even though it's a plural noun, it's el because it refers to one date. So it's not that you yourself do not have two birth dates, right? There's one only. So it's el cumpleaños. The word itself, cumplir, is a normal, regular IR verb, which means to complete or to end, to satisfy something. So en años means years. So the day that you turn a new birthday, you complete a year. So on your first birthday, you will have completed your first year of life. So it's el cumpleaños. So there are two ways of saying that. Cumpleaños is a noun, but also cumplir años is a verb phrase. So in the green box, yo cumplo años el 15 de abril. Mi cumpleaños es el 15 de abril. So two ways of making complete sentences. My birthday is, or I complete years on this date, right? So either as a noun or as a verb. Notice that when you use mi cumpleaños, even though cumpleaños has an S on the end, it's a singular verb. So we don't say mis cumpleaños, it's singular. Mi cumpleaños, and we don't say son, we say yes. So everything there is singular, it just happens to be a noun that ends with S. So yo cumplo años, or mi cumpleaños es. Then you ask somebody, ¿cuándo cumple usted años? Or ¿cuándo cumples tu años? Or ¿cuándo es su or tu cumpleaños? So different ways of asking that. Now, when you're talking to a group of people, so the first example there, the middle one is en tu or usted. ¿Verdad? The second one, if you're talking to a group, hey y'all, when are y'all's birthdays? ¿Cuándo cumplen años ustedes? Or ¿cuándo son sus cumpleaños? Cumpleaños doesn't change. It's still this singular verb, right? This singular noun that ends in an S. But now we've made it plural, but the noun doesn't change. It already ends in an S. We don't say cumpleaños, it's just still cumpleaños. So, ¿cuándo son sus cumpleaños? Now we've said that cumpleaños is going to be a plural noun because there are multiple different birth dates for multiple different people. Okay? Then, in the gray box in the bottom, ¿cuándo es su fecha de nacimiento? That fecha, again, means date, and nacimiento, your birth date. So someone's going to ask you that when they want the year. So, ¿cuándo es su fecha de nacimiento? Es el 15 de abril de 1900, blah, 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 because I'm old, right? So for many of us, es el 3 de marzo de 2020, 2002, 2003, whatever it is. So fecha de nacimiento, you'll see that when you fill out forms, passport forms, or other forms at a doctor's office will say fecha de nacimiento. Because if you just say birthday, cuando es su cumpleaños, most people are just going to give you the date, the day and the month. If you want the year, we use fecha de nacimiento. Okay? All right. Ahora, meses y estaciones. Here are some questions for you to look through. I want you to number your papers 1 through 8, and you're going to ask yourself these questions, write the answer, and then for many of them, there will be varied answers. I just want you to go through that thought process and then come back and we'll look at some potential answers. Okay? Ok, muy bien. Número 1. ¿En qué estación es bueno ir a la playa? En el verano, ¿verdad? A complete sentence would be, en el verano es bueno ir a la playa, or la estación cuando es bueno ir a la playa es el verano. But I'm looking again just for more for vocabulary purposes. Número 2, ¿en qué mes es bueno jugar en la nieve? If you live in Idaho, that can be anywhere from September through April. I know some of y'all have long winters. En enero o febrero, again, multiple answers. It can be diciembre, it can be marzo. My wife is headed to Montana right now. Today is October 6th, and there's a chance, they said she will have snow this weekend. So that's crazy for those of us that live in Arizona. Número 3, ¿en qué mes es la Navidad? One answer only. En diciembre. Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Christmas. Número 4, ¿en qué mes es el cumpleaños? Typo there, sorry guys. ¿En qué mes es el cumpleaños de los Estados Unidos? En julio. ¿En qué mes quieres ir de vacación? It's going to change for everybody. Yo pongo en marzo because my wife teaches elementary school and that's her spring break. So we always go on our vacations en marzo, but your answer will vary. Número 6, ¿en qué estación se celebra, is celebrated Thanksgiving? En el otoño, ¿verdad? Noviembre es en el otoño. Número 7, ¿en qué mes es tu cumpleaños? Different for everybody. En abril, para mí en abril, para ustedes. Número 8, ¿en qué estación llueve mucho? En la primavera, here in Arizona, actually, our biggest rain months are January and August. That's when we get our monsoon storms. I don't think I've ever seen it rain in the spring here, at least not very often. So again, answers vary, but just for you to go through the thought process of putting together months and seasons. Okay, some different verbs that have to do with clima. We use the verb hacer. We don't say it is hot or it is cold outside. Just like we don't say yo estoy frío, right? We talked about this 2 weeks ago. Tengo. When we talk about a person, I am cold. You'll say yo tengo frío. When we say it's cold outside, we use the verb hacer. Hacer means to make or do, but it also means outside. It makes warm weather, for example. So hace sol, it's sunny. Hace frío, it's cold. Hace calor. Hace viento. Hace fresco. All different options. Those are all in panorama. But we don't say está calor outside, or hoy está calor, hoy es calor. No, does not work. Hoy hace calor. And always in the third person singular. You would never say hacen calor, hace calor, just third person singular. 2 other verbs that work like that are the verb for to snow and to rain. Nevar means to snow, llover means to rain. And they're only ever used in the third person singular, right? You don't say I snow, you snow, he snows, we snow. It's a verb for it, and it talks just in general third person singular. And nevar is stem changing, IE, and llover is stem changing, UE. So nieva means it is snowing, it snows. Llueve means it rains or it is raining. Okay, so just some verbs for you as you talk about weather. On page 142, it has some questions about the weather and some examples. So, ¿qué tiempo hace? What weather is it making? How's the weather outside? What's it like? Hace buen tiempo, hace mal tiempo, and then some options. Hace sol or mucho sol, hace frío, mucho frío, hace calor, hace viento, hace fresco. So just some different options for that. Now, there are some different conditions that are not weather, but conditions when you can use different verbs. Nublar means nube is the word for cloud. So nublado means it's cloudy, and that we say está nublado. It's cloudy outside. We talked about nieve or está nevando that we'll get to later this week. That estar form with a verb called the present progressive. Llueve or está lloviendo, and then está soleado is a kind of a fancy formal way of saying it's sunny outside. Hace sol is much more common, but soleado is certainly a very good option. So those examples do not use hacer, but the other ones do use hacer. I end up with just looking at ordinal numbers. Ordinal numbers exist in English as well. It's things like first, second, third, fourth. Cardinal numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4. Ordinal numbers are making that number possessive. So in Spanish, we do the same thing. Many of the numbers look similar to the number itself, but not all the way through. So uno becomes primero, dos becomes segundo, second, tres becomes tercero, fourth becomes cuarto. So be careful on that one because cuatro is 4 and cuarto is fourth. So the R and the T switch places. Cinco becomes quinto, seis becomes sexto, siete becomes séptimo, ocho becomes octavo, which those of you that are into music, same word as an octave. Octavo means eighth. An octave is an eighth between the first and anyway. Nueve becomes noveno, and 10 becomes décimo. So you'll just need to memorize those, and we're only going to worry about 1 through 10. There are different ways of saying 11th and 15th, and they're just not that common because they get kind of complicated. So the things to remember here are these ordinal numbers, uno from 1 to 10, primero a décimo, and then which ones change. So primero and tercero drop the O before masculine singular noun. We talked about the same thing with bueno and malo, becoming buen and mal before a noun. And these numbers, primero and tercero, are the only two that do that. They drop the O before masculine singular noun. Now, all of these will change for feminine and plural. Sorry, feminine and masculine and feminine. So primero becomes primera, segundo, segunda, tercero, tercera, etc. The only ones that drop the O are primero and tercero, and only for masculine nouns. The picture is an exercise. I'll let you just go through that in Panorama if you want to. It's a reminder or a lesson that in buildings in most Spanish-speaking countries, the main floor, when you walk in off the street, you're in la planta baja. So that's called, the planta is another word for floor, and baja means lower. So you're in the lowest floor there, the main floor. And then the floor above that is the first floor, where in English, for most of us, the first floor is where you walk in the street. The next floor is the second, third floor. So when you get to an elevator and you see PB, stands for planta baja, that's going to be the main floor. And then uno is not that first floor. Uno is the first floor above that. So this example has you go through and look at the picture of the hotel and the picture of the floor. So H, the bottom one, is planta baja. G es el primer piso. F, el segundo piso. E es el tercer piso. D, cuarto piso. C, quinto piso. B, sexto piso. Y A, séptimo piso. So I went backwards, but just from the bottom up, okay? So again, primer and tercer, because it's piso is a masculine singular noun. So those two drop their O's, and everything else just follows in suit. Okay, that's it. Again, short, even though I talked a lot, short, only a couple of slides, things to look at. And then as we go through section 5.1, there will be a little bit more I'll have to offer for you. Thanks, guys. Have a great time learning these vocabulary words.